back to another edition of 10 Count. I'm Steve Kim, joined by Michael Montero and Doug Fischer. We're here at Hollywood Smoke in the city of Santa Monica. Gentlemen, the Ides of March were upon us. March 4th from the Barclays Center, we had a welterweight unification bout, and the new WBC and WBA belt holder is Keith Thurman, outpointing Danny Garcia over 12 rounds. The question's very simple, Doug. The nature of this fight, did he clearly establish himself as the world's best welterweight?
No, not at all. He, in my eye, he clearly established himself as a better welterweight than Danny Garcia, and that's about it. He didn't set the world on fire with the manner in which he outpointed Garcia, and he didn't send the impression that he would be a huge favorite against Manny Pacquiao, Brook, or even Errol Spence, as untested as Spence Jr. is. And that is not just my opinion. That is out there in the court of public opinion among boxing hardcore geeks.
You know who I really trust?
In the Twitterverse.
Odds makers.
Yeah.
They're the real experts. I've always said, I don't know much. Go to an odds maker. They're the real experts.
They have to.
They have
to get it right most of the time.
Oh, by the way, Mike, I was stunned. This fight was not nearly as good as Hearns Leonard won.
Oh, my God. You don't say. Well,
and that was an impossible standard, which really CBS.
Tell that to Ray. Tell that to Ray Leonard.
They shouldn't have done that. Yeah.
That was, I mean, when you just, who are they marketing to? Who are they trying to appeal to with some of the hype? When, you know, a casual fan hearing that and then they tune in. And over 5 million people tuned in. This thing did a very, very good rating, a good gate, good crowd. And what they saw, in my opinion, was kind of a glorified sparring session. It wasn't a bad fight.
Well, it peaked in the first round. Let's be honest. Okay. It really did.
The viewership peaked in the 12th round, which is the way it's supposed to go during, a TV broadcast.
Right.
But unfortunately, the fight peaked in the first round.
Right.
What I thought happened in this fight was Danny Garcia was exposed for his flaws, and he's gotten lucky on the scorecards before, right? But he's just flat-footed. He walks in cement, and he usually could catch guys with fundamental errors, which Thurman has plenty of.
Sure.
But at 147, he doesn't have the pop to expose somebody like that. So I'm with you guys. I think that the Brook-Spence fight is probably going to determine the #1 welterweight. What I want to know is, will the winner fight Thurman? That's what I want to see. I don't need to see a rematch between Thurman and Garcia.
Oh, not at all. It's totally unnecessary. I don't think you can make an argument for Danny Garcia winning that fight.
Don't tell Angel that. Don't tell Angel.
we know Angel's unhinged, and we know there's a lot of unhinged people out there in the boxing world. I think Thurman, it would do well for Thurman to be more active. I mean, listen.
You mean Keith, one time a year Thurman?
Yeah. If anybody needs some tune-ups, I think it's Thurman.
I think it
before
needs
fighting,
sparring.
I don't think it would be a good idea. I'll put it this way: I don't think it would be a good idea for Thurman to take on the Brooks Spence winner in his very next fight. He needs more activity in order to have his timing down and to get his technique back to where it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Because in my opinion, he's kind of regressed. Technically speaking, he still understands boxing. He still understands the art of hitting and not getting hit, but he's getting it done on sheer athleticism. And he still got caught a few times by Danny Garcia, who isn't the most active fighter. Yeah,
Rust don't sleep.
Yeah, and I think it's hurt him. I mean, I think he could have, had he fought maybe 3, even twice last year, but best case scenario, I mean, these guys are in their physical primes. They should be fighting 3 times a year.
But he should fight this summer.
Yeah, had Thurman fought 3 times last year, I think he would have been able to put together the kind of combinations that maybe could have seriously hurt Garcia or stop him.
Guys, Danny Jacobs has a lot of momentum. I think his stock was actually raised more in that loss than Gennady Golovkin's, at least in the public perception.
I agree.
So both of them, Jacobs and Thurman, fought within a 2-week span in March. They should not fight once more this year. They should both be demanding 2 fights. And I'm Keith Thurman. I'm looking at the money that other guys are making for going on the other side of the PBC street. Chavez, Amir Khan, and Danny Jacobs all making career-high paydays. If I'm Keith Thurman, I speak to Mr. Heyman and I say, Al, give me Pacquiao.
Yeah.
That's where the most money is.
Yes.
And I think Pacquiao's very vulnerable at this stage.
Well,
I
and
agree.
Pacquiao wants to fight in what, June, July, I think it is, because the fights he had scheduled have fallen through. I think it works out perfectly. I think that's the big money fight Pacquiao wants. They could do it in Vegas.
You mean not Dubai? Okay.
Yeah, stop with the Dubai stuff.
Yeah.
Jeez. Talk about fake news. But yeah, I think that's the way you go. You know, or look, maybe you plan for that in the fall, and during the summer you do a Shawn Porter Shawn Porter has a fight coming up, but somebody like that to stay busy. I want to ask you guys this: is Keith Thurman somebody that would benefit from relocating to Southern California with the great gym scene we have here and getting better sparring?
You know, that's a little unfair to Dan Birmingham.
He's done a great job.
I mean,
but
listen,
underrated
he
trainer.
was the trainer of
Yeah,
Winky
yeah.
Wright. He got Jeff Lacey to a title. You know, when you're a fighter at that level, you could pay sparring partners to fly in. But I do think not facing live bullets. I don't know the exact stats, but I remember looking at BoxRec prior to that fight. Keith Thurman, since 2013, has fought like 4 or 5 times. That to me is an indictment of what's going on in that management and over there generally with the PBC. But if you're Keith Thurman, here's the reality though. The WBA interim champion is Lamont Peterson.
Oh.
You know what? That's a solid type of stay busy
That's a good
bridge fight.
For the summer?
You do that in the summer, and then you look in the fall and you tell your management, Pacquiao needs the fight. If Pacquiao does not want to fight Terrence Crawford, I got 2 belts. Pacquiao has a belt. That's a significant year. If you go Garcia, Peterson, Pacquiao, that's a year.
Yeah.
That's a good year for
And
Thurman.
generally speaking, I'm not interested in what Manny Pacquiao does anymore. I mean, I think he should just ride off into the sunset. But you put him in with a young gun, like
yeah.
a Terrence Crawford or a Keith Thurman, I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to care again.
And I think Thurman is a more winnable fight for Pacquiao, and it's a more marketable fight. Thurman has a bigger profile than Terrence Crawford does at this
Absolutely.
point.
He's been fighting on network TV.
Absolutely. In front of millions of
yeah,
people.
yeah,
He's done
3 to
several
5
good
million
ratings.
audiences, yeah.
So why not go that route? Steve, I love your idea. Go with Lamont Peterson, tie up the WBA situation in the summer, stay busy. Peterson will do what he always does, just enough to lose a close fight.
He'll make Thurman work.
Absolutely.
And
Give him rounds.
if Thurman can decisively beat Lamont Peterson, I think a lot of people will look at him differently and say, okay, maybe he can beat a Kell Brook. Maybe he can beat Spence Jr. Maybe he can beat Manny Pacquiao. But right now, it's weird. He's done nothing but win, and in front of big network television audiences. But if you look at what hardcore fight fans put out there in the Twitterverse and social media, they're still skeptical. And you got to ask yourself why that is.
You know why?
The flaws.
It's the eye test. I mean, let's be
Yeah.
honest. They called this a unification bout, which it is, and I'm a big believer in the belt system. But if you really look at the lineage of how they got their belts, they each had to get through Robert Guerrero as a welterweight. It's not like they beat Wilfredo Benitez. It's not like they even beat Milton McCrory or Marlon Starling.
Not a lot of lineage to those titles that they brought to the ring, right?
Now you look at Danny Garcia. Has he been completely uncovered and is now the mojo lost because he has no 0?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, could he move back down to 140? Could he still make that weight? There might be some fights for him there. I think that Danny Garcia still has a good career ahead of him. It's just a loss. I think his dad needs to shut the hell up and they need to get back to the business of boxing. Here's my thing. Could they bring somebody else into camp? Because I've just seen a plateau with Danny's fundamentals. I thought that he was pretty much exposed against Mauricio Herrera a few years back, and there's been no progression at that point. And now the blueprint is laid. That O is gone. He's not going to get close decisions from here on out. He's going to have to learn to box a little bit.
I think the biggest indictment of Angel Garcia, and we've covered father trainers before for a long time, from Jack Mosley, saw Felix Trinidad, even other fathers who may have not been Ray Arcel or Emmanuel Stewart. Doug, they got other gigs. They had other fighters. Angel Garcia literally only works with his son. That, to me, is telling what other people think of his ability to teach and to train.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I'm a manager and I have a fighter, I'm not taking him to Angel Garcia.
Right.
I just don't want to deal with Angel Garcia, you know. Yeah. But no, that's a very good point. Having said that, I think Garcia did a good job with his son from the amateurs all the way through his professional career. He was recognized as the junior welterweight champ. He won a major title at 147 pounds. And I think he remains a player in the welterweight division. And I don't think he's obviously beatable. Most of us thought that he lost to Herrera. A lot of folks thought he lost to Lamont Peterson. But you don't beat him easily. And I'll give Thurman credit there. I mean, he outpointed a guy who is very difficult to beat.
The top 10 welterweight.
Yeah, and that's it. And there's players out there for him. Now, is he an elite welterweight? No. But would all three of us enjoy watching Danny Garcia versus Adrian Broner at welterweight?
Sign me up.
Sign me up.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
So he has options. It's just a loss, as you said, Michael.
Absolutely. People overrate losses way too much. Adrian Broner, he's lost a couple. He's won more than
he may have lost his last fight.
Let's put those two in the ring. Again, to talk about guys staying busy, Garcia should stay busy too. After a loss like this, you should get right back in the ring.
All right, well, that's it for this edition of 10 Count. On behalf of Doug Fischer and Michael Montero, this is Steve Kim saying till the next round, goodbye, everybody.